I was just looking at this really cool article and stuff, and have you ever heard of a creature called a tube worm? The giant tube worm? So they are, from what I read, creatures that live basically at the bottom of the ocean near active underwater volcanoes. And they are never exposed to any light and live in really, really hot temperatures, like nearly boiling water temperatures. And get this, they survive by eating poisonous chemicals emanated from the volcanoes. Now, I don't know about you, but poisonous chemicals isn't exactly on my diet. But for these guys, it is practically their number one choice. Now, can you imagine living in such extremes, like to have that hot and yet that darkness? On that note, these guys are probably like, get that light out of my face. Like, I don't know about you, but that's how I feel first thing in the morning. So, it makes me think about things the way, like, that's an extreme. Extreme hot, extreme darkness, like, such opposite extremes. And with all this crazy stuff going on in the world with the COVID-19, Trump's trying to pass the LGBTQ act or whatever, and the Black Lives Matters riots and protests and fires, like, that's quite an extreme in itself. And I'm wondering how that extreme counters the other extreme of what youths usually focus on. Now, most youths, aka gamers and YouTubers, like to play stuff like this, Fortnite. It's fun, you get to interact with other people in a matter of speaking, and talk about whatever. It's a good way to communicate with people and meet them, maybe have some angry game rants when you die for the 100th time. Fun stuff. But anyway, another thing youths might have interest in is, of course, what other YouTubers are doing, especially the really popular ones. And of course, there's a lot of fun stuff on there. There's the top 10 challenges stuff. Of course, the Ice Bucket Challenge, which, was a thing for a bit there. TikTok videos. Fun stuff, right? Especially when you see that guy that does all those magic tricks and finds the kitten Pikachu. Anyway. And yet, another thing that's fun to watch for youths, the top 10 basically stupid stunts. And FYI, don't ever try this at home, because I promise, if you do a paintball on your bare skin, you are going to get bruised and you are going to regret it. So that's kind of an idea of what youths like to look at. And compared to what's going on in the world, it's quite an extreme difference. Now, before COVID-19 and all this, adults went to work, they did their own thing, and quite frankly, people had more to do. But after being taken indoors and being forced to stay in quarantine, it leaves you with limited options, and go figure, the most common go-to is media. And a lot more people got media, and a lot more videos have been posted, and basically, you get fed a lot of news, a lot of which is negative news. And while adults are seeing this negative news, there's also the kids that are seeing this too. And, they're in their own world doing Fortnite, YouTube, watching epic fails and all that. But then they start seeing these ads for, like, all this stuff about Trump, and, like, seeing these fires and things about African Americans getting shot, and like, that stuff is everywhere on the media. I don't know how anyone could miss that. So kids are seeing Trump, they're seeing Trump in all his glory, saying whatever stupid stuff he says, or whatever stuff floats people's boats. But His actions have definitely been very questionable. Not to get too deep into it, but last I checked, the president is supposed to protect and support all of the American people. I don't see how passing an act that limits healthcare to the LGBTQ community helps anything. And there are also a lot of youths. There are a lot of youths that are trying to figure out who they are in this world and where they want to go, and there are quite a few that are part of the LGBTQ community, and they are receiving this kind of support from their president. How is that going to make them want to help America and make the world better? It's really a controversial thought, and it's kind of scary, really. But I think that with the right push, things could be different. And speaking of the right push, the fact that the court has basically fought for the LGBTQ community and not passing this, like, that's been a huge help. And I think that's a good example for other youths to follow, but it only goes so far. One thing, it is said for every happy relationship, for every wrong that's done, it should be made up for by 10 rights. Now, the court doing its right by President Trump's wrong, that's a good first step, but that only goes so far. Pardon me. Allergies are really rampant in the South. Fun stuff. But here's one thing that I am most concerned about personally. There have been all kinds of fires and all kinds of riots and protesting going on about Black Lives Matter. And it is understandable why so many people are so angry. I mean, could you imagine going through what some of these people have gone through, like being treated so discriminately just because of their skin color? It's wrong. It's not. By looking at America as the aspect of like the home of the free and like being a free country, this is, yeah, technically we have the freedom to knock on other people's doors and say, hey, I don't like you and stuff, but does that mean you should do that? No, of course not. And that's practically what so many people are doing, like on Facebook, for instance. You'll see people going back and forth on there arguing about, basically, for some, the exact same thing. It's like, why are you two even arguing? And you follow and you go back and forth, like, don't do this because you might get addicted to Facebook. Like, if you can, stay away, I'll just say. Watch your YouTube videos, play your video games, but stay away from Facebook right now. There's way more negative stuff going on right now, and just, I can only imagine what this is like to see through the eyes of someone who's younger and is still trying to figure stuff out. It's not a good example for them to follow, and I don't know about you, but if I saw like how many people are being so hateful right now, I wouldn't want to go out in the world either. I would want to stay home and not be a part of it, and not be a part of making probably what would be considered important decisions like voting. I can't blame younger generations for not wanting to vote when the system is so messed up. Now, I do definitely vote myself, and I encourage everyone to vote because, yes, things are really messed up now, but when you go back and look back in the 1800s or like even the early 1900s, things have made a lot of progress over time, and we are still better off now than we had been many, like, over a century ago. So we're still making progress, and it's important to still vote and continue to make progress. But yeah, this is a big concern. I have friends that have kids, and I worry about them with the COVID-19 stuff, what they're seeing on the news, and I'm worried about their physical health, but I'm also worried about how they are affected by all this psychologically. I think one thing that we can agree on is that we need to do something that's like fun, positive, reach out to your community and help them. Like, instead of like bashing someone's comments or something, or like doing all this hate speech stuff, instead of looking at all that negative, do something positive. Like, say, hey, I like your shirt, or like, it's a beautiful day today. Like, something simple. Like, it could be the stupidest thing in the world, but if it's nice, it's still better than all the negative we're seeing. As you go through Facebook yourself and as you see all this stuff going on, think about what message you are sending to other people. Yes, you have your right to argue and to stick up for yourself, but remember, there are always better ways, more nicer ways to go about this kind of stuff. Anyway, I'll finish my rant, but remember the kids, remember the youths, and keep in mind how the world is going to affect them and what they may think of the future. Thank you.